Let's stay in New York. We're going to head back to some signings now. We want to talk hockey, actual hockey, but I want to go off the ice a little bit to Matt Barzal, sticking around at 8 years in the island. 8 years, 9.15, I think, million per, over 9.
Yep.
My first instinct, I was like, wow, this is high at the Isles, but I think they had to pay up. I think they had to, because this was the last year of Barzal's deal. His qualifying offer would have been $10 million, and he could have easily just said, okay, if I suck this year, take $10 million because it's what they have to qualify me at, and then I can leave. And the Isles, I don't think they want another top-line center to leave. That's like shades of John Tavares, a little bit of trauma for you there. Now, considering that, I think Barzal had that leverage, but I also think we haven't seen real Matt Barzal yet, because I think he has been, he's been like restrained a little bit by some defensive hockey, by some average wingers, and the fact that he's still putting up decent points, I think shows that there's a lot there. He's a fantastic skater. I think if they let him actually play hockey, he's going to be a fantastic player and probably worth $9 million.
So there's a few things that you said there that I want to dissect. I think you had a bunch of good points, but before you do, for all of our people listening, and also for me, because I'm not very well versed on this, what does that mean, a $10 million qualifying offer? Like, why is it stuck at 10? Like, what goes into a qualifying offer?
So a qualifying offer is equal to the player's actual salary in the last year of their deal when if they become an RFA after the contract. So I believe this current contract, it was like a 3-year deal at roughly $7 million.
3 by 7.
But his actual salary for year 3, which is this year, is $10 million. So the team has to qualify him at that number.
Wow. So when RFAs are in this position where they want to make deals, they're like trying to like backload the deal.
They would, yeah. It's counterintuitive financially, but for long-term finances, it does make sense, especially when it's a 3-year deal, because you're an RFA after. You're forcing a team to pay you $9-10 million, and then if you take the qualifying offer, you're free to walk when you're a UFA the year after. So
and that qualifying offer is for 1 year?
Qualifying offers are 1 year.
Wow. Okay. So I guess that changes some things, because I was really mind-boggling to me that they ended up paying him $9 million. You say that we haven't seen the real Matt Barzal yet, and I agree.
Or did we?
He was in a very, very defensive system, but my problem is that since that Calder year where he put up, I think, 0.9 points per game, he's like stayed among 0.9, and it's been 3 or 4 years now where, you know, he's giving me shades of Elias Pettersson, where he comes out the gate, phenomenal player, wins the Calder by a mile, and you go, wow, this guy's going to be a 90-point player. And then 4 years later, like, granted, he's still a bona fide first-line center at 80 points a year, but he's not that 95 guy. And he, like, Lou Lamoriello isn't putting quality wingers around him. He's playing with what?
That's a bit of a problem.
Kyle Palmieri and Anders Lee.
It's so sad. Their winger depth is shocking. It's like Lee and Beauvillier, who are good, but they're not first-liners. And then Palmieri,
Wallstrom,
Bailey,
right?
like Parise, who's ancient, and then like
Wallstrom. No, Wallstrom.
Yeah, like
what makes you think that Barzal's going to break out?
I don't really have like real reason to back this up. It's hope, because under Barry Trotz, I was just they played such a sad, not like it was effective, don't get me wrong, but it was just a depressing style of hockey. And Matt Barzal he can be like one of the most dynamic and flashy players in the league with his skating, with his puck handling abilities. I just think that if you're letting him play to his strengths now, like, I would be hard pressed to not think there's going to be a bump in production there.
That's fair. That's fair. My only issue was, okay, first let me talk about why I think it's a bit of a head scratcher, and then why I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, compared to the comparables in the league, I'm a bit confused. Like, Jordan Kyrou, I think, is a very good comparison to Matt Barzal. They play the same position. They're roughly the same age. They're obviously, they signed their contracts at the same time. Kyrou's gone better every year. Like, his point production is going up every year. He's now a point per game type player. I just said that Matt Barzal has stagnated since the Calder campaign. Barzal got considerably more than Jordan Kyrou, which is a bit confusing. It's also very surprising to me that Matt Barzal, in the very defensive system that you talked about, is among the bottom 10% of forwards in defensive metrics.
It's kind of sad.
And one could argue that, you know, a lot of these statistics are driven by goals against, and he was on a very bad team. So, it could make sense. But the quality of competition that he's playing on average is like 45th percentile. And what that means is that on average, when Matt Barzal is on the ice, he is playing against subpar offensive players. And so notwithstanding the bad team that he's on, if he's playing against bad players, how is he in the bottom 10th percent defensively?
Yeah, that's one I can't defend. I mean, a lot of times we see players who play in good defensive systems get really good defensive metrics, and then people attribute that to the system, saying they're not actually good defensively, they just play in that system. But this is like the complete opposite, where like you must be bad defensively if in that system you're bad.
Right. And so when you take that into consideration, when you take in consideration like what was available in the free market to compare him and how he's played over the last 3 years, the fact that he got 9.5,
I was surprised at the number too.
Yeah, but why I think it happened, like what you said, Lou had so much pressure this season to make a move. I mean, he missed out on big names. Like Gaudreau was clearly in the New York Islanders sweepstakes. Nazem Kadri was clearly
they were there
in that. And who's the only player that they got? Alexander Romanov.
Yeah, and then to trade a first rounder for him.
Yeah, like I think if Lou Lamoriello's sitting there, and Marc Barzal for that matter, they know he needs to sign players. He signs none. The last thing he wants is a homegrown center to leave. All of that leverage points to Matt Barzal, and Matt Barzal has the opportunity to gouge the New York Islanders, and I think that's what he did.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah. I think the number is high based on what we've seen, but I do think he can make that number not seem as high if he can become the player I think he is.
100%, and even if he doesn't develop anymore as a player and he stays at 0.9 for his whole year, a sub $10 million contract for a guy like that when the cap is higher in 3 years isn't going to be bad.
It won't be. Another big time RFA signs, Jason Robertson. This one I thought this was a sweetheart deal for the Stars. 4 years.
Talk about it.
$7.75 million per, and he's still an RFA at the end. So they still have that control. Granted, we just talked about qualifying offers. His qualifying offer is $9.3 million, but I think Jason Robertson's going to be a $9 million player by the time that contract's up. So like they're going to be signing him at that point. But man, kind of came out of nowhere over this past couple of years. Scored 41 last season and was one of the best lines in hockey, one of the most underrated and one of the best with Rupe Hintz and Joe Pavelski. To get a guy like that for under $8 million, I think since he's come into the league, he's among like the top 10 goal scorers. I don't have that actually in front of me, but I think I've heard that before. Mm-hmm. Like to get him for 4 years I wouldn't consider that short. It's like a midterm deal. Sub $8 million for 35 to 40 goal scorer is a steal in my books.
Did they not buy him to UFA? I thought after this deal he becomes a UFA.
Let me double check cap friendly. I'm pretty sure he's an RFA because he was a college player. So it's a little finicky with them because like the games played or seasons played. But let me quickly look. You talk about him and I'll look and then we can circle back.
Yeah, there's 2 words to describe Jason Robertson. It's quite obviously a goal scorer. He reminds me exactly of Kyle Connor type of player. Like this guy put up 41 goals and 79 points last year. He's over a point per game in his entire career. And like you said, he's among the top 10 in scoring. And he's only 23 years old. Only 23. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the teammates he's playing with are phenomenal. Like you said,
they're good.
Rupe Hintz and Joe Pavelski are very good hockey players. Mm-hmm. But like, come on, they're not like the Mitch Marners or the McDavids or the Zibanejads that the other 50 goal scorers are playing with in the NHL. His micro stats are like fantastic. And does he end up going to UFA or RFA?
He'll be an RFA.
He will be an RFA. I can't think of a player, honestly, an RFA since Austin Matthews that was able to like take team-friendly deals like that. Like remember when Austin got 5 by 11.5? I really thought that Jason Robertson was only going to get like 6. Like I didn't think that the Dallas Stars were going to nudge on that number.
Yeah.
But to get 7.75 as a 23-year-old after being in the league for 2 years?
2 years at most.
Like wow. I really don't think he's the type of player that you can say the guys he's playing with are the reason why he's scoring. Like Pavelski's getting older. Hintz is a very good center. Like I said, he's not phenomenal, but he's far above average. Mm-hmm. A lot of his goal scoring definitely is attributed to his ability to get open and his ability to make plays. Jason Robertson might be like a top 5 left winger in the league.
Oh, he's
this deal being done.
I think so. I think he's already making a claim to be like a up there, maybe not top 5, but like he's up there. He's a great goal scorer, and I think he goes under the radar because he quite frankly plays on Dallas, and they're not the most exciting team to watch. They haven't been. and they're not the biggest market. At least they're a big city, but they're not like a big market, if that makes sense.
I agree. I think his goal scoring is even more impressive, like for two reasons. Number one, he played in the Rick Bowness system last year.
Yeah, exactly.
You talk about that really well, where he's one of the most defensive coaches in the league. And then number two, a great stat, the quality of competition that we just used to describe Barzal. Like, it could not be the more opposite for Jason Robertson. He's playing on average against the 95th percentile of competition.
Yeah. Top lines,
that
and top
means,
D pairings.
Right, top D pairings, top lines. Like top lines are forward players who can like clamp down wingers. And this guy's putting up 41 goals being in the league for 2 years. Like, come on, this guy is different.
He's nasty. I think he's going to be well worth this deal, and he's going to get paid at the end. But this, I wanted to actually quickly just talk. Do you have anything to say about Jason Robertson?
Not very important. I'll go after you.
Okay. Well, I just want to quickly mention, like, the way Dallas is set up, it's so rare, I think, because they have I think people would consider them an older team because they have Seguin, Ben, Pavelski, all these guys. But once those guys are gone, like, this team's not going to be bad.
Yep.
They have three fantastic players in each like broad position. They got him at forward, Heiskanen at defense, and the Otter in net. Like, they're ready to start a new cycle as soon as these old guys leave.
That's a pretty good core.
That's fantastic
to start with. Yeah, I mean, Heiskanen was like getting shouts from certain beat writers to get Norris votes.
He's so good.
A couple of years ago.
He's so good.
Jake Ottinger had every time I say his name wrong. Jake Ottinger.
Just call him the Otter.
The Otter had maybe the best playoff series I have ever seen.
He was
next to that Lungfist.
It was crazy.
Season where that series where like that's why it's coined as the Lungfist Trophy now. I've been like the best player on the non-winning team.
Yeah.
Like the Otter, man. Yeah. Might be the best. He's the best young goalie out. It's him and Sorokin for sure.
So yeah, I mean, there's not many that will like enter that conversation. He's going to be competing for Vezina in short order if he can be anything like we saw in the playoffs.
And once those Seguin and Ben deals go, this is a prime market for free agents. It's very hot climate-wise. The golf is great. And in the wise words of Tyreek Hill, the state taxes are nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, baby. They get. Yeah, they're making more money than players in other markets.
There is nothing big-time free agents like more than having a good market to play in, and that is filled with like a young core that can still have the potential to win, because those contracts are undervalued, meaning they can get big-time free agency deals, big-time trades at the halfway time when you're going into the playoffs. Everything about this market makes sense.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be really good, and hopefully they play more fun hockey, so like people like myself can actually like stand to watch them, and then I think they're gonna be one of the more exciting teams to keep an eye on. I don't know if they're playoff locks just because they're in a great division and they're not an elite team, but their best players are really young. So
yeah, and they're also like they're a team that is definitely not a lock to miss the playoffs, right?
Yeah, they're in that wild card race. It's going to be them and a few other teams. They're going to be battling it out. They're going to be a fun team to follow.
Which is really good for young players. Like, it means every game counts. These players are going to develop well. The last thing that I want to say about Jason Robertson is, do you think this year his numbers are going to be a little bit stagnated by the fact that he missed camp? Like, we see a lot of times, like we saw with Nylander. I mean, Nylander missed way more than camp that year, missed 20 games. And then he came back and he was really, really bad because he was playing in Sweden against like worse players. Doesn't have time to develop. It takes him a quarter of a season to develop into a good player or get his legs back. Sorry. Is Jason Robertson missing camp going to affect that?
It might. I can definitely see it just based on what we've seen in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I guess the fact that he was back before the season started is better than nothing. I mean, he's got a point a game right now. He got an assist in their first game. I think it would be fair to maybe not expect 40 goals given the fact that he missed camp, but even if he can score 35, I think at 7.75 that's still a steal, and it's only going to get better. So if he does regress, like, you can maybe understand it, but I think he's still going to be fine.
Leafs got the wrong Robertson, man.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content, and find the link to our full podcast and all our socials in the description down below.
Also, don't forget to turn on those notifications to get live updates on new videos that we release.